Hi everyone, it's Adam here again, and today I'd like to talk to you about the core positioning in any type of exercise that you may do. Specifically for yoga practice, modern postural yoga, I see a lot of people injuring their lower backs by not engaging their core in dangerous positions in various different yoga asana, yoga postures. And so let's get started. I'm going to talk about neutral pelvic tilt, forward pelvic tilt, backward pelvic tilt, what muscles engage, what happens when you're doing that. So if I step back here and let's say I tuck my shirt in here, now you can now see my pelvis alignment pretty easily. My pelvic alignment is normally quite neutral, okay? And you can see that by this waistband here. The difference between the dark shirt and the light pants obviously allows you to see my waistband. And imagine this is a bowl. This is a bowl that I could tip forward and spill out of the front of the bowl, or I could tip backwards and spill out of the back of the bowl, or I could keep that bowl level and not spill out of it at all. And in a forward pelvic tilt, when I spill out of the front of the bowl, I can feel my lower back muscles engaging. In a neutral pelvis, I can feel my lower back muscles lengthening and releasing slightly, and a slight engagement in the front of my core, my rectus abdominis, my transverse abdominis. And then in a backward pelvic tilt, I'm actually going to feel my lower back muscles release and the front of my core engage quite strongly. Okay, it's basically a crunch. So I have forward pelvic tilt, neutral pelvis, and backward pelvic tilt. Now, in various different postures, these work in different ways to help or hinder you. And the first one we'll do is hands and knees, because this is a great way to learn this. If I'm on my hands and knees in what we commonly call cat and cow postures, and I tip my pelvis forward, I find I'm in a back bend, right? And I can feel my lower back muscles engaging and my ribs in front here pushing outwards and the front of my core disengaging. If I come back to neutral, I can feel the pressure move off my lower back. And then as I move into a backward pelvic tilt, I crunch, press my tailbone back down towards my heels, and really lift my lower back, and then even round my upper back if I want to accentuate that. Here's my backward pelvic tilt. I can feel the front of my core engaging and my lower back releasing. And so I have cow pose, the sway back of the cow, forward pelvic tilt, and I have cat pose, backward pelvic tilt, and then neutral pelvis. Okay? Important to be able to feel this. I encourage you to spend quite a bit of time doing this forward backward pelvic tilt in cat and cow pose on your hands and knees, because it's an easy way to figure it out. The next posture I could come to would be a plank, and I see many people just collapsing their lower back in plank because it's easier initially. And so I'm in a forward pelvic tilt. I feel my lower back muscles doing a bunch of work. My front of my core is doing nothing, and I couldn't stay here for very long. So I'm going to neutralize my pelvis by crunching slightly, flex my thighs to help keep my core engaged here, my glutes engaged. Here's a neutral pelvis, and this means that I can stabilize a lot easier in this posture. I'm basically pressing my tailbone toward my heels and trying to find that cat pose. Okay, so that's postures on the ground. Standing would be exactly the same. I could be in a warrior two position here, and you can see how when I'm in a warrior two, the lower I go, the more my pelvis wants to tip forward and collapse. I see this a lot in warrior two, warrior one, crescent lunge, see it all the time. So what I want to do is lengthen that lower back by crunching slightly, okay, drawing the front of my ribs in, pressing gently with my tailbone down. This is engaging the front of my core here to stabilize. Now I take it a step further to movement, and when I move through a forward fold, I actually want to be in a back bend. Confused? You should be. Good. I'm going to bend my knees, always have my knees bent in a forward fold. I'm never going to lock my knees. As soon as I lock my knees, pressure goes to the lower back and the back of the knees in a forward fold. I'm going to bend my knees slightly, and that doesn't mean sink down low, it just means unlock your knees. Then I'll go into a forward pelvic tilt. As you can see now, I'm spilling out of the front of my bowl, my ribs are sticking out. And from here, I'm going to keep this forward pelvic tilt and this back bend. I'm going to lift my chin because where my head goes, my body goes. And I want to keep my body going forward, not dive down. So here I am in a forward fold. In actual fact, if you look at my back, I'm actually in a back bend. I could come down to probably quite neutral here, my back quite flat at about 90-degree hip flexion, okay? And then making sure that my knees are bent, I can just release down, round down, bring my chin to my chest and feel my back muscles releasing as I bring my chin to my chest, all the way down my spine from my neck, all the way down towards my pelvis. I could come halfway back up in this neutral spine again, neutral pelvis, reaching forward, looking a little bit forward by lifting the chin, keeping my back straight, and then relax down. The last thing to come down is my chin to my chest. Then when I come up again, keeping my knees bent, I'm going to look up. I'm going to suck in the front of my core here, below my belly button. I'm going to squeeze my bum here, my glutes, and that's going to pull me up. I'm coming up in a back bend, sucking in. Once I come up to standing, I can drop that tailbone, my legs will straighten, and I can find that neutral pelvis again. But what I don't want to do, and what I see a lot, is when people come up, their knees are locked and they roll up like this, and this is really hard on your lower back. In fact, most injuries, I believe, happen that way. You pick up something and your back is rounded, okay? And there's a lot of pressure on the front, on the inside of the spine there. So what I want to do is use my legs, squeeze my bum, activate my hamstrings, suck in the core, and dive upwards with the back of my head leading, and then level out at the top, straighten the legs, drop the tailbone. The same going down. I'm not going to dive down. I'm going to go forward. Remember, it's a forward fold, not a downward fold. So I find my forward pelvic tilt, which what does it do? Puts me in a back bend. I'm in a back bend right now as I move forward. Now, this doesn't just pertain to yoga, to sun salutations, okay? This pertains to lifting anything. If I'm going to pick up a box, I don't want to bend over and pick up a box. Even if I bend my knees, I don't want to round my back here. I want to bring my feet wide, turn my toes out more, and squat down to pick that up with my legs and my glutes, the strongest, biggest muscles in my body. When I put it down, same thing, squat it down. Don't round your back, because that's how you get back injuries. Okay, so take a look through this video again, move through it slowly, particularly the cat and cow at the beginning, because that's really important. It may be a really, really basic couple of postures, and it may seem just way too simple, but until you start to feel those muscles engaging, until you start to say, here I am in forward pelvic tilt, what does that mean? Oh, that means my lower back is engaging. Here I am in my backward pelvic tilt, that means the front of my core. Until you can actually feel them working, you should be moving through faster and more advanced postures. Okay? Hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you in the next video.